being apprehended tonight. This is from Ramsey County, an official photo here from Ramsey County showing the moments that Vance Boelter was taken into custody tonight. You can see by what he's wearing how sort of dirty he is, that he had been laying low in that field, and we know from the audio that he was told to get up, and you can see that he had been hiding for some time. As far as what he's wearing, and we'd have to compare that with the many different sort of changes throughout since the incidents happened, the murders and the attempted murders happened on Saturday morning. But this is what he was wearing, and that is what he looks like as he was apprehended just a short time ago.
And for a timing reference for our viewers out there and listeners, that this really was just moments ago. We have fortunately had a very good sourcing operation tonight, both in Green Isle, both in the city, and boy, networking that really worked out to cover this story for all of you at home. The first information we had that something was going to go down, or it appeared that something was going to go down, was about 8:45. So it was happening fast, and our sources were spot on. We had a trail cam image of him in that area, which initiated a search from the air via drone. Law enforcement descended in that area. They'd been in the area, but they went in full force, and they pinpointed him in a cornfield. And as we heard from Paul Bloom's audio just a short time ago, you could hear very clearly he was in that dirt, he was laying down, he was asked to stand up and go toward their voices. There was a warrant out for his arrest, and he did exactly that. He was arrested without incident right there in that Green Isle area, right there on the Boelter property, or very near the Boelter property, which has sort of been the focus of this investigation, probably from a, what initiated this thing from an evidence perspective. They needed to go through that property. To have him end up there is extremely interesting to law enforcement and to those of us that are covering this story.
Okay, let's. Okay, it sounds like our Paul Bloom has some new information for us. So, Paul, what have you got?
Yeah, so I'm going to have to, read this, so forgive me for, taking eye contact away from you. I just have the state murder charges against Vance Boelter, charges of murder in the second degree with intent not premeditated, a second count of that charge, and then a couple of counts of obviously the attempted murders. But I just want to read a quick paragraph. Again, I have to process this in real time here. This is one of the paragraphs. So this is after the shooting at Melissa Hortman's house, Mark and Melissa Hortman. Quote, officers searched defendant's vehicle, registered to him. Again, that's that faux police car, the security car with the flashing lights, abandoned in the driveway because he encountered authorities and had to run out the back door. So again, officers searched defendant's vehicle, registered to him, and located at least 3 AK-47 assault rifles, a 9mm handgun, as well as a list of names and addresses of other public officials. Officers canvassed the surrounding area and located a ballistic vest, a disassembled 9mm firearm, a mask. We know he was in that mask in one of the photographs at the door, dressed like police, and a gold police-style badge. So that was all found near the scene. Defendant is the listed purchaser for at least 4 of the recovered firearms, so he connects to the guns themselves. Additionally, investigators spoke with a person familiar with defendant who positively identified him as the man on the Champlin residence surveillance footage. So perhaps that puts that one image of him in the mask at the home of Senator Hoffman. We weren't sure if that picture had come from a Ring camera, which house, but would seem to be from these charges that it came from the Champlin home. Because defendant has not been apprehended, and this case has significant media attention. Of course, this was before what just happened tonight. Your complaint requests this warrant be sealed. So these charges were previously filed. But again, the weaponry, guys, we have to talk about that encounter, the cops checking the Hortman house. Tragically, they couldn't prevent what happened in that home in Brooklyn Park early Saturday morning. But what happens if he gets back in that car? They had that gun exchange with him on the curb. They had clearly he has lists, he has names, he has addresses, and if he gets out of that neighborhood in that car, who knows what happens. Instead, he's on foot. It would take them, 36 hours to bring him into custody alive, but so he has been taken into custody alive. That photo, you can't see that enough, right there, taken into custody, Sibley County there. Alive, we played the audio, ordered to stand up, surrendered peacefully, but those officers, I'll play that audio one more time as our viewers kind of tune into this breaking news. Again, I have the murder charges that are now been unsealed, but again, I lost my train of thought. Let me just go to that, audio again I was asked to play. It's going to take a second.
Paul, it's okay. We have the complaint in front of us, too.
Take a look around. You are surrounded. Stand up with your hands empty and above your head and come to the sound of my voice.
It's 12 seconds. I'll do it again. It starts with them letting him know there's an arrest warrant. Put up your hands. Walk towards his voice. Here it goes again.
We have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You are surrounded. Stand up with your hands empty and above your head and come to the sound of my voice.
One more time.
We have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You are surrounded. Stand up with your hands empty and above your head and come to the sound of my voice.
So a few times there, that is audio nearby of this arrest in Sibley County field near what I understand to be property of Vance Boelter. He is in custody. That photo there, proof. I thought it was really interesting, the comment, the social media comment. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office was the initial source where I saw that photo posted. I'd maybe like to call that up. We don't have the greatest internet signal. It might take a minute. So, but again, just to reiterate, now seeing those charges, I had heard from sourcing that he did have multiple weapons in that SUV that was closely searched yesterday. That's where they found this so-called, manifesto. It was explained a little differently, but certainly within these charges, it reads that there were names, there was addresses, there was multiple weaponry in his vehicle, and of course he had to abandon that because he was encountered by some police officers who, when they went to Senator Hoffman's home where the initial shooting occurred early Saturday morning, it dawned on them his position as a lawmaker, the DFL party, Melissa Hortman's house, their friends. It's less than 10 miles away. They preemptively went to the house just to do what I would call a welfare check. And when they arrive there, they see that, what they thought was a police car, and they have this encounter with the armed gunman who we now believe is Vance Boelter. There's an exchange of gunfire. He apparently runs into the house out the back, which is at Edinburgh Golf Course. It would take authorities, law enforcement, nearly 48 hours to finally bring this to a conclusion, but finding him alive, apparently using drones to discover him, perhaps getting help by a trail camera near his house, and then getting drones up above to look down below. And our understanding was he was crawling around in dirt. And to sort of enhance that thought is this idea in that audio, you do hear authorities tell him to stand up and walk towards their voice.
Can we put the Green Isle video up in the box now? I just want to reiterate some of what Paul mentioned right off the top, and this is where it gets to the next phase, and that is the charges that will be filed against Boelter in District Court, 4th Judicial District. This is from Hennepin County, obviously. Charge 1, second-degree murder with intent. On or about June 14th, Hennepin County, Vance Boelter acting with intent to kill caused the death of victim 1. And then, there we go. Thank you for the video out of Green Isle. That is live right now, folks. And the image you see up on the top left is Vance Boelter being apprehended. Thanks to Ramsey County Police. They sent us this on their Facebook page, which we really appreciate because viewers at home are seeing the first images of an arrest right there. Count 2, secondary murder, again, on or about June 14th, acting with intent to kill, cause the death of victim 2. These are the ones Melissa Hortman and her husband. And then there were 2 more charges, similar charges, attempted murder on those 2, second degree as well. Those are the charges. And I am reading also that it looks like a $5 million bond will be requested for condition of release on this warrant as well. So that will be next phase as we continue to follow this story. We are awaiting, our viewers should know, we are awaiting a 10:30 update from police on this, where Paul Bloom is. So that is certainly going to provide a lot of information on how this thing went down. We're filling in the pieces, connecting the dots, because we had some really awesome sourcing tonight, some great sources calling into Fox 9 and put the pieces together, and it came down pretty much as it looked like it was going to.
And Randy, as I'm just reading through the statement of probable cause in real time here with you and with Paul, there have been a lot of questions from people who are, I guess, just kind of curious about what happened at the Hortman home, because we knew the officers arrived, we knew that there was an exchange, and then we knew that the suspect fled. But we have just a little bit more sort of detail here, because I think the question that is posed sometimes is, well, how did he get away? And you've got officers right there. But so I just wanted to read to you just this portion here. So let's see, Paul mentioned they proactively sent a couple of patrol officers from Brooklyn Park to the home.
As a wellness check, as I understand it, right?
Yeah, just sort of proactively saying, hey, we know that the Hortmans live in Brooklyn Park. All the PD, they know where the sort of VIPs are living in their communities. So it says, when officers arrived at approximately 3:35 a.m., they saw the Ford SUV with police-style lights and immediately saw the defendant, still dressed as a police officer, shoot an adult man, referred to herein as victim 2, who we know is Mark Hortman, through the open door of the home. Police exchanged gunfire with the defendant, who fled the residence before escaping.
What's he talking about? A frying pan.
Inside the residence, officers found 2 adults deceased from gunshot wounds, so we know that to be Mark Hortman and Melissa Hortman. But I think, a little bit more information there on that exchange, at what point exactly the officers arrived, how close was it? That gives us a little bit more of an indication.
And there is a gut-wrenching part of this as far as the first incident of the shooting of Senator Hoffman occurred. And I'll read that as well. Champlin officers, police officers responding to a shooting at the residence in Champlin. A 911 caller reported that a masked person had come to their door and then shot their parents, which obviously tells all of us that the children,
it was
their daughter, their daughter was the one that had to make that 911 call and alert officers that the man had come to their door and shot her parents.
We know just from we've covered stories with Senator Hoffman and his family, and we know just from our Courtney Godfrey too that their daughter Hope has spina bifida and lived with them. I believe about 28 years old is what we were told, and so she, as we're reading now, unfortunately was, as we feared, the one who made that call to 911.
This information released moments ago because there was an arrest. It was to be sealed until that, so we are getting this information very quickly. Again, there is going to be a presser coming up here in about 20 minutes if everything stays on time. There was a very detailed list of the weapons that were found in the alleged shooter's vehicle: 3 AK-47 assault rifles, a 9mm handgun, disassembled 9mm firearm, ballistic vest, gold police-style badge. All that fits the description of a man posing as a police officer when he knocked on the doors of these 2 Minnesota politicians and their spouses.
Lori, do we have So Young, or do we have Karen? Okay. They're all right. They're just logging in here. In just about a minute, we're going to take you out live to Green Isle. I don't know if we want to pop that picture up. I know, sorry, Lori, we've got producers in the booth kind of shuffling things around back there. But okay, so here's the live picture of Green Isle. This would be not necessarily right where the farm is. You can see a little bit more of a paved road there. There's been a staging area, so I'm not sure exactly how close our crew is. I know they wouldn't have been able to get very close to the farm itself. But there was a staging area, and that's where I'm guessing this is. Yeah, they're moving around just a little bit here, where law enforcement has been staged here for the last couple of days. Yeah, that looks like
They're supposed to have a press conference on this, I think, in like 30 minutes.
And so we'll kind of go through some of that with So Young here.
That's what's
because
left.
again, you know, if you're just joining us, I know people are kind of coming into the coverage here as we're continuing on. And we do want to remind folks, I don't know if the race is still going on, but the race that we cut into would be, it is over. Okay, that coverage was on.
They said screw the race.
Thank you. Appreciate that, or Fox Plus. So we want to reset things just a little bit here because we have an incredible development that has come about here in the course of the last sort of 2 hours or so, hour and a half or so, Randy, in that we now have sources that have confirmed. We have now seen a photograph from Ramsey County Sheriff that Vance Boelter is in custody and he has been taken alive.
I can kind of give our viewers a rundown of how, as Amy points out, we had
Does it echo now?
Sources that
This is
Vance Boelter,
work in progress.
suspect, alleged killer, had been spotted on a trail cam. You all know what trail cams are. They're posted out there for wildlife and other reasons, security reasons. But some resident in that area of the Boelter farm, the area there that we're talking about, just for those of it's the 355 block of 200th Street there, and the farm itself is very near there, but that area is where they picked up an image of Boelter on a trail cam. Moments later, we got word that law enforcement came up from a drone in the sky.
It's the guy that
so they
assassinated that senator or whatever there in Minnesota.
Presumably making his way through a cornfield. Corn is very short right now, so easy to see.
What a blessing that we have a later, sunset here to take us so late.
Yeah, and so within moments of that, we got word that there was a possible arrest without incident, and from there it has ballooned into a definite arrest of the suspect, and we saw the images there. And So Young Kim has been in that area since she started her schedule tonight. And she witnessed sort of assembling.
But yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, so
today didn't go as planned.
Where you are,
but I was going to cover this thing today, and then I was going to cover it tomorrow. But yeah, then I saw this.
About the alert that you received and about what time that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're here in Green Isle, right near their staging area is kind of in a parking lot near a baseball field. So we're about a couple of miles away from that alert you mentioned that came directly to my phone right around 9 o'clock. Mentioned that the Minnesota shooter was seen on foot in military gear and armed. So that was around 9 o'clock, and then, like you mentioned, a few minutes after that, we understand that he was taken in a cornfield nearby. And the last couple of days, we've been talking to neighbors in the area. I also spoke with someone on the phone who lives right in this area, right off of Highway 25. His property was searched, so authorities, to what they explained to us a few hours ago, they kind of obviously mentioned there was a car of interest that they believe Boelter was using yesterday. They found that maybe 7 miles down the road here, Highway 25. That was maybe earlier this morning. It was towed away around maybe before 4 o'clock this afternoon. So earlier this afternoon, that car was towed away. This area was still being searched. It was blocked off. This part of Highway 25 was still blocked off for several hours after that. And even after the roads reopened a few hours ago, police presence, especially in the staging area, remained largely unchanged. And we know why. They were honing in and zoning in on Boelter, but they hadn't released that publicly until we received that alert. Listening for any movements, getting any updates from law enforcement here. And now we know that they were zeroing in here and kind of staying nearby because they had reason to believe that he was still in the area. That was a big question a lot of these neighbors had. A lot of people were scared just with the law enforcement presence in the area. Authorities weren't ruling out any possibilities. So he could have been in the area. People weren't sure if he had left the state or we know TSA, other federal agencies were also involved, keeping a watch to potentially watch that he doesn't flee the country. But now we know he really was kind of back in this area, which is near Green Isle, which we know is the address of a family home and property nearby. So everything kind of happened in this area right off of Highway 25. And we know that now he has been taken in. This staging area in the last maybe 10 to 15 minutes, now we see some patrol cars maybe packing up for the night or moving. We kind of have seen a little bit of movement, more than we've seen throughout the night, of maybe some of these squad cars or some of these agencies, because there's so many agencies out here, hundreds of patrol units, but multi-agency from local, county to federal. We have seen some patrol cars leave the area and leave the staging area potentially for the night. And this is such a big relief for everyone involved, not just these communities and the neighbors we've spoken to, but Paul had mentioned, you know, there was a hit list. And with Boelter still out there, he's a suspected, you know, shooter in these cases. It was just a nightmare situation all weekend for some of these lawmakers that have been informed they were on the list, for these communities, knowing that a potential shooter was still armed and dangerous in their communities. This is just such a major development and a major point of relief for everyone, not just in these communities, but across the state and across the country, really.
Yeah, we are seeing what you're seeing as well. It does look like law enforcement is clearing the area. You can see
This crap never really went away, Alicia.
Certainly with that
It's like a new phase, like every day. I swear it's definitely was the big C.
Likely the end result.
The headaches have been real.
Apprehension.
The congestion.
Tonight, 57-year-old.
The hacking shit up. It's nonstop. I'm kind of tired of it.
When we have some degree of
I think it's been 2 weeks now.
It's been more than 24 hours. People were certainly on edge in all kinds of areas. And the question remains tonight, how does he end up back in some ways where this investigation began at the family property out there near Green Isle? We don't know the answer to that. We might get an answer, but the reality is that's where this thing came to a culmination. What his choice was, what his intentions were, we do not know. We may never know about that. But I think, Amy, it's important to talk about and name the people who are alleged to have been victimized. And if we can just bring up some images of Melissa Hortman and the others, it's important that we remember what we've lost here in the state of Minnesota as a result.
Yeah, it's been a complete joke. I had it once before when all this stuff
badly injured
started
in the hospital.
2020.
There's Melissa and her husband.
Lasted for a day. It wasn't even anything like this.
Recognize Melissa if you the news at all. She's on often as a prominent Democratic figure in this state.
Yeah, Speaker of the House for several years, Speaker Emerita right now, which is sort of a shared speaker role in the House. This was a photo that was taken the night before Mark and Melissa were killed. This was an annual DFL dinner, as described by many as sort of Democrat prom, if you will. And you know, a lot of folks there who had a chance to sort of give them hugs and to sort of talk to them and catch up, not knowing that would be the last time that they would have those conversations. So that's Mark and Melissa.
Quickly about
right
Mark,
there.
too, we intended to air some sound from a friend of Mark's. His name is Ross Bennett. Obviously devastated. He lives very close to them in the neighborhood, in the Hortman neighborhood there. And he tells us that when Melissa was busy with her political work, her husband Mark would often call him just to hang out. Last time they talked to Mark was Friday, obviously just hours before this shooting. Described for us the couple outside the public eye. He described Melissa as a regular person as you could find, someone who'd been as deeply involved in politics as she was still a normal person, a regular person. He, talking about Mark, one of the most authentic people you'll ever meet. Authentic, incredibly positive. He has a smile on his face, as you can see right there. He always, he says, light up the room. That last conversation was again on Friday. It was brief, according to Ross, and he was talking about going to a Twins game in a couple weeks. The two would often go to Target Field together for baseball games.
Yeah, and think about that family dynamic and how what kind of a job she has and the support that he has been. And
Oh, you know some shit?
Of course, this is State Senator John Hoffman. And,
I ain't even gonna say
I
it.
don't know that we have a picture of his wife Yvette. If we do, okay, Lori's working on that. She works for a school district in Fernbrook and has is so Fern. Okay, thank you, Lori. Fernbrook Elementary in Maple Grove is where she works, and of course we've seen that GoFundMe that they've put together for her and for John as they continue to recover. We haven't gotten much detail as far as how they're doing, their conditions, other than yesterday we know that they did come out of surgery and, they're expected to survive. We haven't gotten much information on the extent of the injuries there.
What are you swinging, buddy?
Lori, go ahead. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so that particular GoFundMe.
I sound like a freaking
for
faucet,
PTO,
man.
I believe is the one who put that on. Is that, what'd you say? You said 90?
That's a freaking joke.
$91,000. So that's been growing exponentially.
I can read, if you're talking about Yvette, we did get a late this evening, we did get an update from Senator Amy Klobuchar.
Oh, please, yes.
Yeah, she tweeted out a text from Yvette. It reads in part this: our family is so, this is from Yvette, the woman you see there, the husband of John, reads in part, our family is so humbled by the love and outpouring we've received from everyone. John is enduring many surgeries right now and is closer every hour to being out of the woods. And this is the part that struck me tonight when I was reading this earlier. John took 9 bullet hits. She says, I took 8 bullet hits. And we are both incredibly lucky to be alive, and that is an understatement if ever I've heard one. And we mentioned that a GoFundMe for both John and Yvette.
Yeah. John, known as
in
a
recovery
disability advocate for so many things, and we'll continue to talk about them throughout, throughout our coverage tonight, as that is
the doctor
so
isn't the answer,
the
bud.
Latest developments, though, another very important development, are Paul.
Maybe I just need a
tissue.
tissue.
You have a little bit more information for us.
Yeah, just a comment
We'll
I
see.
wanted to pass along to our viewers. We are in the State's Emergency Operations Center in the North Metro. We have been promised a 10:30 news conference.
Maybe a stiff drink.
With
That
officials.
sounds
That I have
good
now
right about
confirmed
now.
will include the Brooklyn Park Police Chief. We met yesterday at the news conference, Mark Bruley. I asked if there was anything I could convey from him, and he said just that this was the largest manhunt in the state's history. 43 hours, and we had the suspect in custody, leveraged hundreds of federal, state, county, and local law enforcement, quote, historic and amazing. The thoughts of Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley, of course, who was his city, where Speaker Emerita Melissa Hortman and Mark Hortman were shot and killed yesterday around 3:30 in the morning. 43 hours later, Vance Boelter, the suspected gunman, political assassin, is in custody. He has been charged. I shared those charges with you that have been unsealed in Hennepin County. We also understand there are federal charges filed against him. We haven't seen that complaint yet. And I wanted to read the words. The Ramsey County Sheriff's Office was the first place we saw that photo of Boelter under arrest.
Guess I gotta figure out how to
Quote,
mute this mic on this soundboard, huh? So you don't hear me sniffling.
Police work. The killer is now in custody, thanks to the dedication of multiple agencies working together, along with support from the community. Justice now one step closer, and it's that photo of him in handcuffs. The law enforcement in those camouflage, almost military-looking fatigues have him under arrest.
What's up, SRB?
And in
How are you?
custody, and now the criminal case
There's another sniffle for y'all.
Against him. We're about 5 minutes away now. We expect to hear from all sorts of officials. No word yet if the governor's coming back here tonight, but certainly, as I mentioned there, the Brooklyn Park Police Chief will be here. A huge sigh of relief.
Not real talkative at the moment. I'm trying to screw around with
being
this
asked to try to
crap.
maybe play that community one more time. This room is getting kind of loud, but this was the audio of the arrest. 12 seconds. We played it several times for you. If you're just joining us now, it's probably worth trying again. But again, the room's gotten a lot louder in the last few minutes as media has poured in for this 10:30 news conference. Here it is. Listen closely.
Guys, we have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You are surrounded. Stand up with your hands empty and above your head and come to the sound of my voice. We have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You
Do that one more time.
We have an arrest warrant. Take a look around. You are surrounded. Stand up with your hands empty and above your head and come to the sound of my voice.
And just having
Hearing
the picture
aids.
on screen with it, it really puts you in that moment, in that field. Again, as we understood it, as one police source commented, that he was crawling in on the ground. He was spotted above by drone.
I'm surprised this dude
Trail
didn't kill
camera had
himself.
picked up an image of him earlier. And again, he chose to end this peacefully.
I'd really like to
and
know
follow his voice, the voices.
why him and his
in custody there.
wife
Again,
had
I'm
the
curious to
security
see the tone
company
is
that
taken.
operated over in
Clearly
frickin'
relief. We spoke earlier in the
Africa.
day about, just anecdotally, another police chief in the metro who has officers outside every elected official 24 hours, each hour of the day since this manifesto, and names, even names not on that list. Police were guarding homes over the last 43 hours during this manhunt. They were responding to tips, to calls. There was 400 plus tips that came into the official BCA tip line, a $50,000 reward for the suspected gunman. And there he is on your screen, alive, under arrest, and now just minutes away from hearing sort of the official accounting from state officials who opened this emergency operations center yesterday to coordinate this search. Dozens of agencies, federal, all the alphabet soup of the federal agencies, state, local, police. But this, I know deep down, I know Mark Bruley pretty well. This was personal for Brooklyn Park, and to have this man under arrest right now means so much. And I shared his words with you a minute ago, but huge relief in that community tonight.
It sounds like we're a couple of minutes away from the press conference, and we've been told that Governor Walz will be there.
Oh.
That time, went in.
Guy's over here like a fidget. Huh. I think I may have just figured this out.
Read them for you. Some descriptions that on the first count on June 14th, Hennepin County, Vance Boelter, acting with the intent to kill, caused the death of victim 1. We can presume that was either Melissa or her husband Mark using a firearm. And count 2, same description, victim 2 using a firearm. Then we move on to the attempted, which was count 3. That is with the Hoffman family, Yvette and John Hoffman, and count 4, I should say, also murder in the second degree with intent, not premeditated. Those likely might get amended to second degree, depending on how, or second degree attempted versus second degree murder. So we will watch that. And the bail as it's set right now would be set at felony level bail, $5 million.
I don't know, guys, if we want to double box
Yeah,
with the
there's a lot going on
press
here.
conference. There we go. Yeah, just
I don't
to,
even
just
know.
to kind of visually let people know.
Part of it's this
let's
freaking
stay on this here because it's imminent. It's
soundboard
gonna be
thing
happening,
that I
shortly. We want to
frickin' don't need anymore 'cause it's a piece of junk.
Live as soon as it goes. But we did get some more information here. Of course, Paul just played I don't even know how you describe it. That hearing that audio and seeing his photo, it just.
Come on,
And that audio was
people,
recorded
get
by,
to the good
some neighbor
stuff.
in the area as this was going down. They were able to record it. I don't know how they did it, because it was so clear. They clearly were very close to where law enforcement were, recorded it on their phone, sent it to Paul.
Yeah.
And the audio that we've been playing is the actual arrest of Boelter there in that farm field on the Boelter property, we believe. If not on the property, very near the Boelter property in Green Isle there, just a little southwest of the Twin Cities. Again, this is a press getting set up to give all of you at home and all of us
It's a trick.
on this arrest and where we
I didn't think it was going to go this well, to be quite honest with you.
If you're just joining us here at the bottom of the hour, it's 10:30 now. This was
It's a
the
circle jerk.
capture the arrest without
I definitely need
incident
another
of
monitor, I
Vance
can tell you that
Boelter,
much right now.
57 years old.
I got too much
He
going
will
on here.
now, as we are understanding from this complaint that's been unsealed, be charged with 2 counts of murder and 2 counts of murder in the second degree. Attempted will likely be revised when the charges come down, as long as John Hoffman, Senator Hoffman, and his wife Yvette continue to improve.
Just doing a little bit of a mic check here and getting everything set, but yeah, we're told it's going to happen any minute. It's been such a long journey, and there's so much relief in tonight. Of course, there will be now a trial.
I figure out how to mute this damn mic.
Attention that is put on
so I can sniffle to myself.
And you know, we want to keep and we will continue to talk about the victims here, of course, those who have lost their lives, their families, the impact, the children who have been left behind. I think as parents, you know, I think you just keep thinking about all
need to
of
go
those
blow
who
my
have been
nose.
left behind here, particularly the children. And the one
What a racket.
Hope, who was actually there when all of this
Guy's
happened.
a
There's
mess.
just so much attention that needs to be paid and so much support that needs to be given to them first and foremost. You think about sort of the next tier, which is those other folks who were on that list and what they're going through. And then, you know, other lawmakers who may not have been on that list, but whose families are saying to them, is this worth it?
What a fucking joke.
I think it gives anybody with any public persona
I'll be right back. I'm going to go blow my nose so you guys don't have to listen to me doing this shit.
Like this. I shared earlier, I had been in Canada up until this morning, making my way back.
SRB, it's the freaking guy that
magnitude of this
shot those whatever senators or whatever in
Ontario,
Minnesota.
and as from a personal standpoint, it just made me reflect on, I'm in a part of the country where it seems so pristine and so beautiful, yet we're reminded that these kind of things are happening all too often, right in our backyard in this particular case. And it's devastating for those people affected by it. And these people are so closely affected by it that it just breaks your heart.
Yeah. At the same time, we heard from so many of the lawmakers who said we cannot normalize this. We cannot treat this as if this is sort of a symptom of the society that we live in. This is not normal. This is evil. This is an act of evil that needs to be sort of separated from, I think, everything else, because this is different and this is evil, and we can't normalize it.
I was listening to some of the cable outlets talking about this event from afar, and one of the questions that was asked of one of the people that was being interviewed is, why do you think this would happen? And there is no why. I mean, you can't sort of reason this sort of thing as to what the reasoning behind something so horrific happens. It happens for people who are just absolutely, you know, outside the bounds of normalcy and outside the bounds of how we all think. And this is something that's why it's so profoundly bothersome and hurtful to the people that have to see this, especially Minnesotans who know these people, both publicly and personally.
And at the same time, you know, the lesson here, the outcome in honor of the legacy of someone like Speaker Emerita Hortman and her husband Mark is that hopefully we can do better in our tones, in our rhetoric, in our you know, relationships with each other, especially in the political world. We do have one statement here that we can share with you.
Let's look at a statement from Senator Smith's. This is obviously on the suspect's arrest, so this statement came out just moments ago. Thank you for the incredible effort of law enforcement. Simple, to the point. Senator Tina Smith, Democrat, Minnesota. These will come in, and we will share as many of these with you as we can, both tonight and tomorrow.
Yeah, that's what I thought at first, Dago.
Kelly Morrison, Democrat, Minnesota. Kelly Morrison. So incredibly.
I need a freaking haircut, dude.
Yeah, this morning.
The problem is,
grateful to all of our state, local, and
this stupid
enforcement who
ass sickness
together seamlessly and tirelessly all weekend to keep
is messing up my game here, bud.
and track the assailant down.
Good
I want to
Lord.
say too, this person impersonating a police officer is hurtful for every law enforcement officer out there who wears the badge, who wears the uniform, that someone would do this and stain in incredible ways the efforts, the hard work, the protectionism that they give all of us every single day, that someone would do this under the guise of a police officer.
Right, and steal the sense of security of anybody who has an officer knock at their door. And now from here on out, may wonder and question. I wanted to mention to Representative Morrison, Senator Tina Smith, both we were able to confirm were on the list.
Yeah.
They were on this list. Representative Morrison, who was here this morning to do an interview with us, was here, you know, understandably with heavy security.
Who was the wise old man?
You know, she was here, and she actually ran into our producer, Lori Fisher, and you know, it's an emotional day for everybody, and it's Father's Day and everything. And Lori says it's okay to share it, but you know, Lori just broke down and just started crying because I think everybody's kind of carrying it right here. And Representative Morrison went and gave her a hug, and you know, Lori said, "I should be hugging you," you know. But it's a time right now where we're seeing folks just speaking with a lot of lawmakers, former lawmakers.
Jeez
right now. They are all
Louise.
saying the same thing. They are checking on each
Oh
other.
yeah, happy Father's Day to all you
Things have changed.
lovely fathers out
Has
there.
changed now,
There
and
you
we'll
go.
see how
Hope it was
how we can
good.
do better moving forward.
My dog dad
Again,
day
if you're
was
just joining us. This news conference is scheduled to begin any moment now. We know that
very napping,
we
let's
heard
say.
the governor is going to be there to sort of lead this, and that may be just, you know, getting him there and getting everybody situated. We'll see what the delay is. But
I feel like I got
until
one
then,
brain
just kind
cell.
of keeping you,
Right about now.
getting you caught up with what's been happening. It was shortly, what, 9?
Yeah, I mean, we
Around
got our
9?
first sourcing that something was happening via drone, via trail cam. That was about 8:45 this
Yeah.
evening. And it
Yeah,
happened
the
very
whole
quickly
Travis
after that.
Decker
The
thing, though,
presumption
is
was that
rather
they had,
interesting. I'm surprised that-
suspects surrounded in an area by
Thanks,
Green
buddy.
Isle, the area
After,
where the,
you know, they
Boelter
saw
family
this guy
farm
the other day
is. It was either
with
on the
that
property
frickin'
or the
chopper
property.
that
They had him pinned
they
down.
haven't
Law
been able to
enforcement
nab this
presence
guy,
was
like,
there.
holy shit.
And then a short time later, we heard, and if you haven't heard Paul Bloom's audio sent to us by one of his sources who was right there when law enforcement was arresting him, maybe we can bring that up quickly if we can. And if just let me know. Sure.
Yeah, it's okay.
That's okay. That's okay. I'm talking to
We
Lori
may be
now.
close,
It's all
yeah.
good. But it basically was you could hear over the bullhorn asking him to put up his hands, walk toward the sound. There was a warrant out for his arrest. There, when I say his, they're talking about Vance Boelter. He was laying down in a cornfield at the time, stood up, and as we now know, walked without incident to law enforcement and surrendered.
Which is the picture you see
And there's the picture
below.
as he was being taken into custody. Again, this is all taken place within 2 hours of right now.
It's incredible. Law enforcement.
Guy's talking in code.
More than 100 officers have been. in
See, there's that mean cough that goes along with it, too.
About 5:30.
Jeez
And at that time,
Louise.
they told us they were pretty heavily focused on Sibley County, and
Whoops.
it looks like they might be getting ready to come up here, and we're not gonna miss a second of this. So we're gonna take you there as soon as it gets going. But it just looks like they're getting there, and there's no audio yet. So, you know, this is getting a little bit of a feedback there, guys.
All right, we're back.
An incredible couple of days, starting with
Jesus.
our own Karen Scullen, who at about 3 in the morning, Saturday morning, woke up in the middle of the night, checked her phone, and happened to see
Yeah,
something was
self-induced,
something
bud.
was happening. Had no idea at the time, but started just checking and making calls. And within a few hours, we had
Choked on
started
my
to hear
Pepsi.
via sources
Yep.
of the shootings. And then a little bit later, we start to hear it could be
Cheers.
lawmakers. And then, of course, within a couple of hours.
You know, remember how I used to ride your ass on that Coke
were
Zero
confirmed.
shit?
And so that was sort of how it all played out on Saturday morning.
Or whatever it
The
is.
search.
Pepsi Nada or whatever the
scramble
hell.
For them to try to
God,
secure
tell me how
evidence
I've gotten
in
into
so
that
many
stuff.
Different locations.
I still remember you saying that frickin'
home that Vance Boelter had been renting.
you almost got
with
like addicted to
roommates,
that taste, and now I know what you
where,
mean, Vern.
You know, he'd smashed out a window of a vehicle. The vehicle they found today is that from that home. I guess, you know, they'll hopefully let us know these things. But the multiple locations that these law enforcement officers have had to sort of hone in on, in addition to keeping open the idea that he maybe has fled.
Yeah, this man had a manifesto. He had a plan in place. He, as we understand it, changed clothing at one point, and he had contacted one of his roommates and said something to the effect
Yeah,
of, "I
like,
will
why don't
probably
they tell,
die
like, some of the
today,"
backstory
whatever,
on
you know,
this
reference.
guy?
And
They're
this was
so
still
boring
on
right now.
Saturday morning, early Saturday morning, about 6 a.m.
Yep.
Saturday morning is when that text went to
And
a
the crimes
roommate of
occurred
him.
around 3 a.m. that was a few hours later.
Yeah, so it was a very rapidly unfolding event, and the news of this traveled.
This is ridiculous. I'd really like to know this guy's
From a
motive.
personal standpoint, I was on Lake of the Woods in Ontario, and the news of that got to
Somebody
everyone
pissed in his Wheaties.
that I was with by about 9 o'clock Saturday morning.
Yeah.
And
Did you get a joke book for Father's Day, bud?
And really throughout the world.
And
People were awestruck that this could happen, would happen in this day and age, but I guess in some ways not surprised.
Yeah, and it was a day when, of course, we had the No Kings protests
Holy fuck.
here that did go on in St. Paul as well as around the state. Of course, the Capitol celebrations in Washington, D.C. for the 250th birthday of the Army and President Trump's birthday, that was going on. So, you know, the eyes of the country were already sort of in that political space, but to have this sort of a crime committed, and as Governor Walz put it during his news conference, you know, politically motivated, we, I guess, have yet to kind of see what some of those other details
Yeah, I think I
other
need to
than
get
the
a,
No Kings
maybe I need to get a hint.
papers that were found in the vehicle, which is why law enforcement and the governor asked people not to go to those protests. They just didn't know at that time because the suspect was still out there, and they didn't know what might happen. But you know, the journey to get here, you know, you've been covering stories, you know, a little bit longer than I have, and I don't know that I can remember another sort of not just story like this, you know, with the deaths involved, but also just this incredible work by law enforcement to hone in on
amazing,
him.
really.
It has been unbelievable.
And as Paul just stated a short time ago, the largest sort of
I'm doing it.
effort by law enforcement to put a net around this man, and eventually come to this arrest tonight. Yeah, and you know, the first response of people.
Somebody's
I talked to
chewing on
people
gravel?
on the trip down from up north today. Heartbreak
Yes.
was the first response. Heartbreak for the Hoffman family. Here's our update there from law enforcement. They're getting set to speak at the mic. They're testing right now. Let's go ahead and listen in and see. I don't know.
Testing.
Yep, let's listen in.
Safety Commissioner
Yeah.
Bob Jacobson.
Jeez.
This is the list of speakers, we believe.
Yeah.
We can just take it live, guys. We can take it full and let's listen in.
Drew Evans, EVANS.
Well,
After that, you'll be hearing from Brooklyn Park Police Department. Chief Mark Bruley, BRU, Mark Bruley,
Oh, that's Mark
and
Bruley.
then State Patrol Colonel
Bruley.
Geiger, GEIGER.
He didn't spell Bruley, did he?
Yep. I'm sorry, I'll get that for you.
Oh, yep.
Lieutenant Colonel Geiger from the Minnesota State Patrol. Yep.
She can't even keep up with the sign language, poor lady. She's like, come on, homeboy. Keep it real. Fluid.
Jeremy.
Common spelling.
I'm pretty sure this whack job was still in Minnesota. Yeah. I don't know. Always fucking clueless. I'm pretty
You're just
sure.
getting set for that press conference.
They
there,
found him in a
to
cornfield,
detail and outline
face down
the arrest
in a
tonight
cornfield.
of the suspect, Vance Luther Boelter, 57 years old, the man alleged to have politically assassinated Melissa Hortman, her husband Mark, attempted to kill. That's the alleged. There's the state capitol where a memorial is now growing for Melissa and her husband Mark, and of course the injuring of Senator John Hoffman and his wife Yvette as well. That is at our state capitol.
It is a live,
Yeah.
live
So,
image right now.
where the hell's Travis Decker?
As we take a look at that and remember the victims.
Have they ever did any updates on that ever since they saw him from the helicopter, or supposedly?
Take that, but you
Because
can
I hadn't
see,
paid attention. Anybody
so many
heard?
people leaving behind notes and flowers, candles, and you can see that photograph there of Mark and of Melissa together, and just a really poignant sight right now as we get ready to get some details here on the arrest of who police believe
I feel like there are going to be some bunk details.
This whole thing came, as you know, Amy, and as
We
many
found
of
him face
viewers
down in
know,
a
and certainly those of
cornfield
us
and
that cover
blah, blah, blah,
the
blah.
Capitol. This came just really days after a bipartisan bill was passed and signed by Governor Walz. The state budget for 2 years. This shooting, horrific political assassination as it's being described, occurred just days after that.
Didn't they just see this guy, like,
bill was signed?
was it Thursday? Was it Friday they saw him from that helicopter, or was it Thursday? Because if it was Thursday, they are slacking.
Finish the budget. They did that, and then just days later, this is
Here we
where
go.
we are. Let's listen in to Governor Walz.
That's WALSH. Over. Somebody give me the script. Where's the script? Yep. I need the script.
Good evening. After a 2-day manhunt, 2 sleepless nights, law enforcement have apprehended Vance Boelter.
Boy, she gets into that
That's
sign
48
language.
hours that law enforcement involved in a complex and dangerous manhunt. Spent Father's Day away from their families to deliver justice for Melissa and Mark Hortman and their children who spent this Father's
Get the
Day alone.
TOEs.
To the law enforcement who stand here and the hundreds who were involved in this, the state of Minnesota owes you a deep debt of gratitude. Thank you. You ran towards the danger and you served the state of Minnesota. This is a great example of coordination and collaboration. Multiple agencies, federal, state, and local, coordinating together in a way to protect the public and close this hunt around. Multiple agencies were there as FBI laid hands on it and Minnesota State Patrol put the handcuffs on. One man's unthinkable actions have altered the state of Minnesota. Melissa Hortman was the core of who our values
she
were.
is fucking.
She had a hand
I have never
in so many
seen
things that happened.
a more
The
active
building that we stand in,
woman.
she helped usher through so that we could respond from the State Emergency Operations Center with the professionalism and giving the tools necessary to law enforcement to do their job. To Melissa and Mark's family, I cannot fathom your pain and the grief that you're going through. We'll take solace in the memory and the work that Melissa did, and you can rest assured that we will put every ounce of effort that the state of Minnesota has to make sure that justice is served.
I can see it.
And the individual responsible for this serves the time.
Painted white.
For the unspeakable act. State grieves with you. To John and Yvette Hoffman, the latest news is Senator Hoffman.
That's why she don't got no hair.
And is moving towards.
It's for the outfit.
Towards recovery. Yvette is healing. And I think when the story comes out, and
it could be her first
job
job.
The state of Minnesota, the heroic actions by the Hoffman family and their daughter Hope saved countless lives, and we are grateful. Bureau of Criminal Apprehension will continue to investigate. We will keep you informed. We'll spare no expense and no work to make sure that that happens. A moment in this country where we watch violence erupt. This cannot be the norm. It cannot be the way that we deal with our political differences. Now's the time for us to recommit to the core values of this country. And each and every one of us can do it.
I can't say that we've
Talk to a neighbor rather
heard
than
much
argue.
action in Minnesota, let's say.
Shake hands.
You notice
find
how
common ground.
some states are just never in the
This is who
news.
Melissa Hortman was. In the first negotiating session that I had a chance to work with her, she got all the partners in the room, and she provided each and every one of us a copy of a book called Getting to Yes. And the whole premise was debating with a sense of goodwill, a sense of trying to come to compromises that serve everyone. And because of her, we did that. Because of her, we did that year after year after year. That's the embodiment of how things are supposed to work. It's not about hatred. It's not about mean tweets. It's not about demeaning someone. It's leading with grace and compassion and vision and compromise and
Definitely
decency.
not Florida.
That was taken from us in Minnesota with the murder of Speaker Hortman. So for each and every one of us to truly honor, and we will continue to honor that spirit, but we will need to do it in just more than actions in a memorial. Conducting
That's
ourselves
Eddie country.
in the spirit that Melissa Hortman did her work is what the country needs to heal. I will once again say the deep debt of gratitude. These professionals
no
standing
shit.
behind us and countless others. This was, you'll hear from them, incredibly complex. And to take this suspect in with no life of life or injuries to civilian population and to bring him in alive so he can serve justice, which he will do in Minnesota, is an incredible thing.
What a
that we're
dink.
grateful for. With that, I'm going to turn it over to the professionals, starting
Yeah,
with
like,
Commissioner of Public Safety. For
get to the
state of
juice,
Minnesota,
man.
Bob Jacobson.
Good evening. It's good to see you all here tonight. Thank you for coming in. My name is Bob Jacobson. I'm the Commissioner of Public Safety. And again, it's my honor to serve in that position. First of all, I want to thank all of the law enforcement agencies that have been working tirelessly over the past 2 years since the shooting at Senator Hoffman's home. The coordination between state, local, and federal law enforcement partners is the reason we are here tonight and the suspect is in custody. Boelter exploited the trust our uniforms are meant to represent. That betrayal is deeply disturbing to those of us who wear the badge with honor and responsibility. We want to thank community members across the state for their support, for their tips, and their information. And I want to thank Governor Walz for his continued support through this very difficult time. With that, I will pass this off to Superintendent Drew Evans of the BCA. Thank you.
Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Drew Evans. I'm Superintendent of the Minnesota Bureau of Criminal Apprehension. As was noted and was previously described, Vance Boelter was taken into custody in Sibley County. We were with you earlier today when we provided information about the manhunt and the myriad of law enforcement that have come together working in partnership so that this evil cannot be continued. The first step in a case like this is that we take him into custody, and then the work will continue and begin.
I'd like to know if this guy was ever in
all the evidence we need to ensure that
in
he
the
is held accountable
service.
for his crimes. Please bear with me, but I think it's important because it has been noted by the governor, just to give you some background on the teams that were down there, and I may even be missing some in terms of this because there were law enforcement partners, not just from the Twin Cities, but across the state of Minnesota that came together. From the Brooklyn Park Police Department, the Tri-City SWAT Team, Eagan Police Department, Burnsville Police Department, our South Metro SWAT Team, the FBI, ATF, United States Marshal Service, State Patrol, Washington County Sheriff's Office, Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, the Richfield Police Department, St. Paul Police Department, Bloomington Police Department, Sibley County. We had Riverview Medics, Green Isle Fire Department, and Lifelink in the area, in addition to Prior Lake, Crow River SWAT, and the Hennepin County Sheriff's Office. And again, I may have been missing, and I apologize to my partners for that we do that. I share all of that for you because that's the commitment when this sort of evil is in one of our communities, that law enforcement comes together to put all of their resources together to make sure that that person is taken into custody. That is so that people across the state of Minnesota and legislators that were targeted in these attacks and that may have been listed can breathe a sigh of relief as quickly as possible as we came together in an incredibly complex set of circumstances in that. He was arrested, as you saw earlier this evening, in the area of 35-600 block, 35
Who the hell wears a
600
cowboy
block,
hat in
200th
fucking
Street, Green
Minnesota
Isle.
is what I want to know.
What happened in that is, as we noted, there was a manhunt going throughout the day in that area that we've discussed previously, and there was information provided that he was seen in the area. When that information was provided to the investigators that were conducting the ground search, they converged on the area with a number of SWAT teams with the assistance of the Air Wing from Minnesota State Patrol, and we'll provide a few more details about the end of coming into custody in a little bit, but he was taken into custody at that time. He is in custody, and a reminder for anybody that was not, when we've previously said that, taken into custody under a state criminal warrant. That information will be made public if it is not already, detailing the complaint that he is charged in the cases at this time with the murders of Speaker Hortman and her husband, Mark Hortman, also with the shootings in John Hoffman and Yvette Hoffman for those crimes, and we'll be moving forward. We are also in close contact with our federal
I'm trying to find this guy's background.
The FBI, United States Attorney's Office, who are examining whether or not additional
I'm
charges
disgusted
should be
at my
brought,
findings.
at the federal level related to this at this time. There is a lot of investigation that continues, and I'm going to turn it over to Chief Bruley to
like
provide some
yoga.
comments on this and the work.
She's
I just
probably
want to tell
gassed out
certainly
after
for the
she's done.
communities of Champlin, City of Brooklyn Park. You both have incredibly professional police departments that work day in, day out and tirelessly in this situation to bring justice and work towards that, not only for the families and the loved ones and the community that are impacted, but for the entire state of Minnesota. And our teams are incredibly proud to work alongside them and all the law enforcement partners. And so with that, I will turn it over to Chief Bruley for some comments on this, and the work will continue in partnership with them and others moving forward. Chief.
Good evening. I'm Police Chief Mark Bruley, Brooklyn Park Police Department. Just a few comments. One, I'm very proud to tell you that we took the suspect into custody who was responsible for this. That was within 43 hours of the incident. There's no question that this is the largest manhunt in the state's history. Just down at the scene where he was taken into custody, there was 20 different SWAT teams over an extremely large area hunting this individual down to take him into custody. I believe that the state of Minnesota and certainly the city of Brooklyn Park should be extremely proud of the police officers within the city of Brooklyn Park, but the partnerships that we had are unprecedented between the federal agents, the county, the locals, and others around.
Why do I
It's
feel like she's a
absolutely
black
an
belt?
incredible task what went on. Essentially, the Brooklyn Park Police Department was turned over into an operations center, and that's all that hundreds of detectives worked on tirelessly for 43 hours. So while this has come to some conclusion where we've made an arrest, there is a ton of work that needs to be done. So I encourage community members, if there's evidence, information, or other things, please continue to feed that information to the Brooklyn Park Police Department so that we can fully investigate this and present a complete case to both the federal jurisdiction and the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. With that, I'll turn it over to the State Patrol.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremy Geiger. I'm the Lieutenant Colonel with the Minnesota State Patrol, the Assistant Chief. The Minnesota State Patrol, along with countless other partners, were responsible for this arrest. The collaborative effort, I cannot stress enough how outstanding that was, helped ensure the suspect's arrest did not result in the injury of any law enforcement that was down there and in the area.
She's
We had
wild as
special
fuck.
response teams on the scene near 200 streets in Sibley County.
Oh, yes, yes.
Several partner
Yeah,
law
look
enforcement
it
SWAT
up.
teams positioned to form a perimeter at that point in time. The State Patrol also provided the air support that was talked about earlier today. The suspect crawled to law
What the fuck
enforcement
was that?
teams and was placed under arrest
White
at
dove?
that point in time.
Oh, you see, you look.
There was no use of force by any member of law enforcement that was out there, and the suspect was taken into custody without any use of force. Thank you.
With that, we will open it up for a few questions. Reminder, please introduce yourself, your media organization. If you have a question for one of the specific individuals, please feel free to point that out as well.
Vance Boelter with NBC News. Can I ask anyone up here who can speak to it, did the suspect make any key mistakes that you feel like led to his medical capture?
You know, the question is were there any key mistakes? We certainly, at this point, there's a lot of information we can't share right now. In this, what I will tell you is there is some incredibly dedicated law enforcement personnel, criminal intelligence analysts that were out working day in, day out, working together. And what I will tell you is that that the
bet she
public
wins
certainly,
contests to
is
this
always
stuff.
of his assistance to us in law enforcement and
I'm
incredibly diligent people in the area that provided us the assistance that we needed to get our teams that were already down there that last piece over. But they were certainly in the area and working diligently together on that.
One's gonna be one at a time, guys.
Drew, Border Health Repair 11, do you have any indication that anyone helped him?
The question is any indication anybody helped him? We continue to look into that. I don't have anything beyond what we shared earlier today this investigation, as Chief Bruley noted, will be continuing to
Bet you she was out
expand at
there.
this point in time to make sure
bet
that
you
we
she was out
continue to
there.
look at all angles of
They
this.
got
And
him.
Everybody did help him. We will certainly hold them accountable for doing that in this process. The question was how the Hoffmans help save lives and what he, okay, I don't have the specific, and then what did he say when he was taken into custody? I don't have the specifics on what he said when he was taken into custody. You know, we're incredibly grateful that the Hoffmans are still here with us at this point.
I'd like to see her do some Bob Ross
and
kind
that
of
they,
painting shit.
will be,
I imagine that
hopefully
would
on a
be
continued
interesting.
path to recovery.
Seems
and
like
that
she'd have
they will,
violent paintings.
Provide us the information. We've been able to talk to them today, and they will be providing key information to us as part of this
Active.
investigation moving forward. At the end, the question was, did he have a phone with him? I don't have the specifics on everything that was with him when he was arrested at this time. I will say he was armed, and that he came when he was taken into custody, but we'll be sifting through all of that information from there. What's that? I can't on the weapons at this time, so apologies.
The fucking one-liners. Hey, how much coffee you had, bud? Maybe that's it.
How significant was that in preventing any further tragedy on the ground in Sibley County?
Yeah, the question is, again, expanding on the Hoffmans and providing addition. What I'll tell you, Chief Bruley mentioned this yesterday, and his police officers going to check proactively on Speaker Hortman's home at that time. If that had not happened, I have every confidence that this would have continued throughout the day. By his officers encountering him at that, it was forced to abandon the vehicle that he had at that time and lead to what we got to today. So by that incident occurring and the law enforcement communication that was occurring, it allowed the proactive approach that was able to get to the point where they were able to now.
I don't think I've ever watched that guy. Well, a couple times, but I haven't retained anything from his mess.
So the detail that he had provided the start of the video is that for about an hour, Boelter had tried to evade arrest, and that 8 teams crawled in a ditch to try to corral him. I don't know if you have that level of detail, but
No, not at this moment. You gotta wait till tomorrow.
So the question is about the teams and then what was done to get him into custody. So we don't get into operational details for the safety of our law enforcement going forward in terms of what it is. But what I can say is the incredible teamwork that was done and the large number of law enforcement certainly put us in a position where they were able to maneuver into this area to safely put him in a place where, you know, I don't know what was going through his head and I wouldn't speculate, but they have incredibly professional teams that are trained on this and how to take somebody into custody, and they provided the commands and he gave up peacefully.
Superintendent Jonah Kaplan from WCCO and CBS News. First, if you could just speak personally for you and all your colleagues. This is a relief for a lot of you. Can you talk about what it means to you personally to have this done? Only a few hours ago, you weren't sure if he was in the state, let alone
The question is the relief for all of us. I mean, the relief for us in law enforcement is we feel an incredible amount of pressure to bring a person into custody for safety to the
that's
community.
a good one.
These professionals behind me and their teams, this is what they do. This is what
Sid.
they get paid to do, and they're honored to do the work on behalf of Minnesotans every single day. So the relief is that we can bring that sense of
think he's
relief
got
to
a little,
communities across Minnesota, legislators that were on that list,
whatchamacallit?
and that's what we want to do.
What the hell is that guy's name?
At what point did you get the call
Shit.
that he was in that area in Reno?
Why can't I fucking remember this guy's
The question
name?
was on the call, and when did we get it? It
He was gone in
happening
60
over the time.
seconds.
I don't have the specific timeline.
What the hell was
We
his
were
last
alerted
name?
as soon as there was a spotting of the
Cage?
person in the
Nicolas
area for all
Cage?
of the
Why
command
do I
staff
feel like he
here,
looks a little
and
like
as our
Nicolas
teams
Cage?
continued to work, and as they worked in.
Like straight on. When he turns, not so much.
Yeah.
Thanks, SRP. Shit's a little slow right now.
Yeah, the question is what role, and I can't get into all the technology, obviously. Just
Thanks
some
for
of it
watching.
is that we do don't share the information to make sure that we
I
protect
mean, you
it
could
so
just
it's
turn this
utilized
on
going
yourself.
forward. However, I will say that both UAVs throughout the day are incredibly important to our teams on unmanned aerial vehicles that we use, that there were numerous ones out there providing that, and then our helicopter in this situation provides an incredibly
helicopter
important
work.
bird's eye view that also allows us special views to be able to see individuals such as infrared and others that we utilize on a regular basis. So technology
The
in
fuck
cases
happened to
like this are
Washington's
incredible
helicopter?
tools to be able to supplement the great hard work of all the people that were on the ground every day. Let's go here first. So right now he is being interviewed at a law enforcement facility. More information on where he will actually be ultimately will be released at a later time. I can't share where he is currently, but that information will be available soon.
Well, shucks. What a freaking jobber.
Yeah, so this is, where was he hiding? This is in a rural area. These
This
are
dude's
fields
old,
and different
man.
wooded settings around. And
What
that's
the
where
hell's he
was
out there
ultimately
doing
captured.
shit like this at
Sibley
54
County
years old?
is, a rural county in the state of Minnesota, and so it's what a lot of that streams, fields, woods, crops, and so where he was ultimately taken into custody was in a field.
Did the infrared technology help find him, identify him from the
I don't.
The commissioner had mentioned some of that earlier. I wonder if that's something.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. It assisted previously.
You got
and
problems
they
if
were
you
out
gotta
there. The
chew it
helicopter was out there
before
before
you swallow
the sun
it.
went down. But after that happened, yes, that technology did come into play.
How long did you know that he was there?
I'll turn that back over to the superintendent here too, but I don't think that that information is
Oh
available.
man, she's getting the shoulders into it. She knows this press conference is almost over and she's gonna have to stop. She loves this so much. Come on, bring it,
Mark
puppy.
Bruley, Police Chief, Brooklyn Park. The question
this
is
is
how long
Puppy.
did we know that he was there?
Yeah,
A
see,
vehicle that we
Puppy.
believe that he was in was spotted many hours before and had been abandoned. An alert police officer believed that he may have seen the individual running into the woods, and that started a large-scale perimeter that we set up, or down in Sibley County set up, and we started to deploy resources, including the Brooklyn Park SWAT team, and along with many other SWAT teams, to contain an extremely large area, knowing that this is a very dangerous individual. During that, we got privy to additional information of an individual that was in the woods, and that search went on for many hours until ultimately we were able to locate him in the woods. And in approximately an hour and a half or so, we were able to close the distance in
Oh, that's
with the
a good
technology
question.
and the State Patrol helicopter,
I don't
and where
think
we
they
were able to
freaking-
call him out to us.
I don't think any one of these geniuses said this.
Yeah, it's absolutely way too soon to say that right now. That's where the investigation, we have been just solely focused on the manhunt. And the goal was is
Yeah, I
to
know.
give some
It's
calm
drawn
to the
out, for
situation
sure.
of many individuals
With
that were on the list that
minimal
were worried
info.
about their safety. And this is a very dangerous individual for our community, and that's why so many resources and such a great collaboration came together to focus on removing him from society so that we can restore some
Brooklyn
sort
Park,
of calm
where the
and
hell is
grace
this
and
guy
healing
from?
to our community and to our state. Now begins the hard work of looking at what the motive is, looking at putting this case together, and so that's yet to come.
Hey, Mark, those are the people that were on the list. I know there are politicians from Wisconsin on the list. What other states were people found on the list?
It was multiple states. I don't have the exhaustive list, but it was multiple states.
Do you have some states that were on the list?
Green Isle. Green Isle.
There's a few, I don't want to say it because it won't be exhaustive, but Wisconsin, Illinois, Michigan, some others that were on there. There was a variety, Nebraska, Iowa, we've had contact. What I will tell you, and I will not get into any more specifics
Holy
beyond
shit.
that, we are in coordination with our federal partners and our fusion centers in those states to coordinate with local law enforcement and the FBI in those states and the state fusion centers that are there to be able to provide that information and notify those individuals that they were on that list.
Are you concerned that there's other people out there that could have been working with
Older.
The question is, are we concerned there's other people out there that could be working with them? We will fully explore that. I've said on this. We are relatively confident. We are confident that the violence that he committed and the murders he committed and the attempted murders, that he conducted that activity alone. We will be exploring if there are any broader network. We have not uncovered any of that at this time, but that will be part of our investigation, and we will fully explore that. So thank you.
Thanks. Thank you. We can go. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
All right, there's the end of that multi-unit press conference detailing the capture and arrest in the state's largest manhunt in history for the suspect in the murders of Melissa Hortman, Representative Hortman, and her husband Mark, and State Senator John Hoffman, and the injuring of Hoffman and his wife Yvette, happening Saturday morning.
That's ridiculous.
Vance Boelter, 57 years old. They detailed how he was spotted. It looked like an abandoned vehicle, a man heading into a woods, and that's what started today's manhunt in that specific area of Green Isle, which was a area that they had investigated and gone over with a fine-tooth comb Saturday as a result of it being in the family property.
Yeah, before we kind of get into some more of those details, and I know Paul's standing by as well.
It seems like it's all right in the same
update that we
area.
Received on Senator Hoffman and Yvette is that Senator Hoffman, of course, came out of his final surgery, is what we were told here tonight.
Because that was,
and Yvette,
this guy was freaking picked up
she's healing.
Yeah.
So
by the same freaking police department.
Okay, Lori tells us
in
that
the
we
same
have
freaking city, which
from
is
the
Brooklyn
Hoffman family.
Park.
Let's take a look at that.
So,
as we want to.
I don't think it's really that far.
Remember the folks who are so impacted here. But she says this is about 3 pages, but you can see there. Let's see this is from the Hoffman family. Oh, wait a second. Is this?
I don't get why this dude was freaking. He was renting a room from somebody for like so many days a week. I don't know. I don't know all the info on this deal, but I don't get why he was staying with this freaking guy that came out and talked on the news about he stayed there a couple of days a week or some shit.
As I'm reading this, Randy, John and I, this sounds like this is from Yvette. John and I are both incredibly lucky to be alive.
Freaking whack job. Didn't even have enough brains to freaking go anywhere.
Humbled by the outpouring of
but then they supposedly, I don't know, this is alleged. But they supposedly pulled over this dude's wife. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday, and she had freaking passports and shit on her and a bunch of money in the trunk and shit, and they questioned her and let her go. So, I don't know. There's some weird shit. Maybe they swabbed her DNA.
Senator John
Maybe
Hoffman,
they found a candy wrapper or something.
Wounds. Senator Hoffman receiving 9 bullet hits, and Yvette receiving 8
Brian Koberger
hits.
stop.
Amazing, and miraculously, both are expected to survive.
It's amazing to hear from them tonight. This is the first time we've been able to actually hear from them, and it's wonderful to be able to get their reaction to this, and of course their daughter Hope. Who was also in the home at the time and who we learned today is the one who ended up calling 911, and we just want to continue to remember them, and of course the Hortmans.
It doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
Do we want to check in with Paul? Is he?
It probably won't.
Is he in a place to chat with us?
For a long time either.
I think you're going to hear from Paul is that this was a law enforcement teamwork, huge amount of officers working on the capture of Luther Boelter, and so your take, basically, big teamwork. Biggest manhunt in Minnesota history, Paul, and they are relieved as much as we are that this man has been captured.
Yeah, I mean, a lot to unpack during that news conference as someone who jumped into coverage on this yesterday morning, reporting live outside the Hortman house, seeing that fake police squad car in that driveway. And I asked Drew Evans, I hope you heard that exchange, how important was the fact that Brooklyn Park Police went and checked the Hortman house. Tragically, they got there too late, but according to the charges, they got there as they saw this gunman, believed to be Vance Boelter, fire and kill Mark Hortman, and then he had to abandon the vehicle. He was then on foot. Criminal complaint, unsealed tonight, would show there were several more guns, more ammunition, more weaponry in that security car. And the superintendent just said up there confidently that if he gets out of that neighborhood with that vehicle, with his list, his manifesto,
Oh,
a
yeah.
lot
Supposedly
more
this dude had a
likely
list
would
of
have
like
happened,
70
along
people
the
or some
lines of
shit that he
further
was going
traffic.
to
As it is, we
supposedly
lost,
was going to
Speaker
kill.
Merita. Yes, sorry, Amy.
No, go
Yes.
ahead, and I apologize there for folks at home. There's a little bit of a delay here. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but at that point, I just wanted to sort of stop you and take folks through a little bit of the timeline there, because we know that after he fled that scene, there was, correct me if I'm wrong, but there was that scene in Minneapolis where the vehicle was, where he knocked out. Can you kind of take us through that? Because that looks to be sort of
Yeah.
where he went.
It makes you
after he
wonder
left, the
before
Brooklyn
why.
Park scene. Is that right?
I don't know what the hell his deal was.
Right, he would have fled on foot.
Maybe they wouldn't
he
let
got out
him
the back doors,
bring his
went,
animals
back, to
back
the
over
house,
from
went out
Africa.
on Edinburgh Golf Course, and then next spotted in Minneapolis, photos of him
They
at
kept
a,
stealing
at a
his
business,
furs from his
photos of
hunts.
or video of him, we think, getting into like his vehicle, knocking out a window, maybe picking up stuff around 6 a.m. Authorities had thought they had maybe contained him to a 3-mile square. Remember, there was that shelter-in-place order up in Brooklyn Park, but he clearly got out of there and then would have picked up that vehicle that then is subsequently abandoned early today in Sibley County, that Buick. And remarkably, we just learned that they thought a police officer spotted him running into the woods. We talked to one of our earlier live shots, didn't we, about
Yeah, I really think this
did
is
they
all-
have this feeling that he was close.
From looking
once
on the
they
map,
found
the
the hat,
frickin'
the car, you wonder now. if
it
he was
all
running
seems
into the
really
woods,
close.
and now the hat's on the ground. You start kind of potentially picking,
Sibley County,
kind
all
of
that
connecting
shit.
some dots here. Did he
Fucking
take off
camera's
into the
wigging
woods, and
out.
that's where he's been?
It's going blurry.
all this time. Eventually, they would obviously. It sounded like we've reported the drone use to pinpoint his exact location. We understand a trail camera was a key helper in identifying exactly where he was in that rural area of Sibley County. And then we had the helicopter. We had not heard that before, but the State Patrol helicopter, which would make sense that was providing even further, altitudinal, perspective on the ground below, a wooded area, swampy area, maybe difficult for people on the ground to make out an individual who's crawling around in the dirt, as we've been told he was. But that is what led these SWAT teams, and it was interesting to me. Again, I had to have a relationship with the Brooklyn Park Police Chief, Mark Bruley, but this remained their case. You heard that in his voice, and it sounded like he was proud that it was his SWAT team that was initially. I mean, everyone will agree it was a massive law enforcement team
dude was
effort.
pissed.
But I just heard in Mark Bruley's comments and his belief that
Shit
this
like
was
this
their
don't happen
case,
in
this was
fucking
their
Minnesota.
speaker, this was their hometown.
They probably
that
took
was
it
so,
very offensive.
tragically, crushed by what happened early Saturday morning, what's been described as a political assassination in Melissa Hortman's home on Edinburgh Golf Course yesterday morning. Now to the culmination, he is in custody, Vance Boelter. They would not say where he is being held right now. They did say law enforcement is questioning him. I thought a couple of other interesting points that we should revisit. The fact that Drew Evans, the BCA superintendent, did list several other states of who was on this manifesto. I know authorities were trying to redefine what they meant by the manifesto. It might have been ramblings, notes, thoughts. It wasn't an edict. It
Yeah,
wasn't a
that's what
directive
I'm
of what he was
freaking
gonna
wondering
do,
here.
But it sort
So
of
where this
conveyed what he
happened was
feeling.
right
Drew Evans was
outside of
Wisconsin, which we
Minneapolis.
had known about some reporting locally that
And
said several lawmakers in Wisconsin,
maybe it's
Illinois,
further than what
Iowa,
I thought.
Michigan, Nebraska. So several states have been alerted to the fact that names are on that list. And it is a scary time all across the metro. I've used this anecdote today talking to a suburban police chief whose city was not immediately impacted by what took place, but he's had to put squads out in front of even people not on the list, all of his lawmakers' homes in the jurisdiction that he covers because of the concern that Boelter may be targeting other people. He was alive. He was on foot. We didn't know where he was. Tonight, authorities knew where he was. They went in, massive team effort down there, and he is now in custody. I don't see the video return right now, but we obviously have that photo of him that has been shared widely tonight. There it is. Law enforcement, SWAT teams in those military-like fatigues, the helmets, and Boelter, in custody. Superintendent Evans did not want to say what Boelter may have said upon his arrest.
I don't know. It looks like
surrender.
it's probably like an hour
Peacefully,
or
he put his hands up. He followed the
hours
voices as he was
away
commanded
from
to,
where this happened,
and he's
maybe?
under arrest. Yeah, Randy, sorry about that.
Just a couple things there, and you're on the same vein
Yeah.
as I'm trying to get some more details.
Allegedly.
The question was asked a couple times if whether or not law enforcement or or investigators believe that anyone helped him. That was one thing. The other thing that was addressed was whether or not federal charges would come into play, and I know that that was a question that was asked early on as well. Address those for us if you can.
Yeah, let me take the federal. We understand a federal warrant was issued, a federal arrest warrant bulletin was put out nationwide out of an abundance of caution, was my understanding. I thought there were some underlying charges that went with that. The superintendent described eluding authorities, eluding prosecution.
Where's that
as a
sign
federal
language
offense,
lady?
And that,
Somebody get her
that
back.
the warrant went out under that premise.
Pronto.
He sort of backtracked, though, in his verbiage tonight, just saying the state charges are now unsealed, and now we'll consult with the feds to see if certain charges are appropriate. So I was curious about that. That's going to require a little bit more digging. But certainly the state charges commence immediately. Those were filed under seal. They were released. We had the details earlier. I don't have able to quote, but again, heavy weaponry found in his SUV, a bunch of evidence, the mask that we see, that one photo of him in that creepy old
creative.
mask, and
His Mrs. Doubtfire mask.
silicone-type mask, which we believe now, connecting the dots,
Excuse
that
me.
photo was taken outside the home of Senator Hoffman. That was dropped. The mask, the badge. Trying to
What a
remember,
sloppy
the guns
operation.
in the car. But there's the mask picture. We now know that the mask
What a freaking
was
freak,
dropped.
huh?
The replica, a badge. Remember, I just remember,
This fucking guy.
yesterday, Mark Bruley saying
It's like
that
something
that guy
straight out of the
showed up
fucking
in the
movies,
room
you know
with
what I mean,
law enforcement,
Vern?
saw his badge. It would have looked just like mine. He would have just like this guy would have looked just like law enforcement. And you think
Yeah.
about who was in this room a moment ago, and how law enforcement felt their commitment, their service was violated by this guy showing up in the dark
Yeah,
of
no
night
shit.
to two lawmakers'
Fucking
home under the
middle
guise
Minnesota.
of law enforcement to wake those folks up and then to attempt to
Very creepy.
assassinate. And
This is like some
clearly
shit
more
out of
than
the fucking
house,
movies.
assassinate, a husband and wife, a lawmaker. This meant so much.
I
to
swear
law
this was in a
enforcement. I told you
fucking
earlier,
movie
I was kind of
someplace,
curious
wasn't
the
it?
tone it would take, and I think
Fucking
you saw, what it
officials
was.
were
Clearly,
fucking shot by
governor's
people and
emotion
fucking shit
still,
like
this can't
that.
happen
I feel like
again.
it's like
The
an
loss of a
80s
dear
movie.
friend, a
Something like Bruce
glass-breaking,
Willis or some shit.
Speaker of the House and Melissa Hortman, to the law enforcement, taking pride that this was their case, their SWAT team. They were going to get this guy today. And here we are 43 hours later, the state's largest manhunt in its history, according to Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley.
And Paul,
They're
just up on
lurking.
the screen there a moment ago, we just had a list of sort of the arsenal, some of the weapons that were found in his vehicle. And, we talk about the question you asked, which I think a lot of us who've been following this since the beginning have really looked at that pivotal moment when that Brooklyn Park sergeant in the middle of the night has that feeling and says,
Yeah,
we need to
I can't remember where the hell it was.
to the Hortman home. And
Or
that
maybe it was like a
timing, and
bank.
while,
it's like
yeah,
some
you can
bank
look at it and
robbery
say, well, they
shit
got there a
with
little
this
late.
fucking mask or something. I can't
Of
remember.
course, yes, there's that.
I don't think
And
I'm that far
also,
off, though.
Wow, look at what they throw.
I
in
swear I've
here.
seen it too.
The fact that it completely
Maybe in my
changed,
dreams.
we can only assume completely changed the course of what the suspect was going to do that day. Talk a little bit about the fact that 43 hours, Chief Bruley said, 43 hours.
Is it?
The fact that everything that has happened in the last 43 hours and there was no additional loss of life, public, law enforcement.
Now you got me
it
looking
is
this shit up,
incredible
man.
Given all the unknowns with the
Point
suspect.
Break.
And worth pointing out, Amy, we learned in this news conference when he was arrested, he was armed. So he still had weaponry with him. They did not elaborate on what he was found with, but he clearly kept some type of weaponry as he's on the run, on foot. But yes, the superintendent.
Oh, yeah.
My question.
No
that
shit.
more tragedy would
Kinda
have
makes me wanna
unfolded
watch it.
had those Brooklyn Park police officers not encountered a Boelter on the front stoop of the Hortman home. Tragic, the losses that occurred that day, but the lives that were saved by that action.
Yeah,
putting him on
exactly.
foot. You know, my perception as I'm just kind of processing it through my head and, you know, trying to make sense of what could have been, you know, I was thinking if he gets into that vehicle, maybe SUV, I believe, and it doesn't matter what I believe.
Where the fuck was he gonna go?
The BCA, you know, the lead law enforcement guy in this state said, no doubt further tragedy would have had unfolded if not for that encounter on the front stoop of the Whitman home early yesterday morning.
It seems like everything I tried to watch
It's
today,
been described as a
that
political
was the effect.
assassination by some.
It was horrible.
Including us, and I think that's probably.
I guess I
fairly
was
safe
tired.
in this situation.
Who
But
knows?
it does beg the question: motive in a situation like that. That was addressed tonight, but it was brushed off in that they said, and correct me if I'm wrong, that they're working hard at looking at what the motive may have been.
I know
assume
trying
that the
to
manifesto
fall
or
asleep
what's
to,
described as a manifesto would lend
what the
clue.
hell was it? Cold case some shit last night.
What do those readings say? The scrawlings, I think perhaps more importantly.
That was the wrong
the state
thing
of
to
mind
try to
of
fall
this,
asleep to.
This man at this point, but does he
It ended
open
up like 5 o'clock in the morning.
You know, there was sort of, you know, as you think about the
Good
different
night,
scenarios,
SOB.
how this plays
Good
out,
to see you.
I think there probably are some people who are surprised he was taken alive. And that he is in custody, and now he has the ability to speak out.
I really don't think I need a doctor.
Connecting this to anything else, but I think of the Mangione.
I'll be back to work tomorrow.
United
Everything will be great.
Healthcare, you know, killing assassination that so touched Minnesota as well. You know, when someone is taken alive and has a political, you know, message to share, what comes out, what does he hear, what does he say in court, what does he say when we see him next? I mean, here's a guy now. This begins a criminal process within 48 hours. He's going to have to make a first criminal court appearance. So I will be very curious to hear what he says. And then, yes, how the manifesto, again, it was described a little differently, more notes.
I guess this is a new thing, huh?
Thoughts. Why
the
did
manifesto,
he target these
it's
two
all part of the
lawmakers
deal.
in particular,
I guess it's been a thing, huh?
Brooklyn Park. I mean, he's, as
Like,
far
what the
as we know, he
fuck?
lives in Green Isle. He rents in
Do you really got to write this shit down?
Nonpartisan,
I mean, come on now.
Minnesota, you
Is
know,
this all
where
part of your
does,
capture?
you need to start putting
If
the
you got
pieces
the balls to
together.
do it, just go fucking do
I'm
it.
not an expert at this point on the man's life, but
Oh,
suffice
Phil,
to
what
say
time
now
is
that he's
it?
taken alive,
Oh, wow.
you would certainly
It's
think we might
12:30.
get more insights into what he was thinking,
Whoops.
why he tried to carry this out. And again, there are more
Freaking
names on
got,
this
like,
list, more
quick.
states. Has he been in contact with other people? I'm curious to see
I
how
guess
this
that's just the
you know,
orders they
unravels
follow.
beyond just him.
This has gotta be
But
like
as
the
you
last
heard,
guy.
Authorities say tonight, right now, he is the one responsible
No
for
way
these
left
just
out.
heinous attacks here in our home state.
Paul, I was wondering if anybody would ask, and maybe I guess it's not as relevant at this moment, but you know, his family, wife, and we understand children as well, and they did come into play. At least the wife did come into play in some of this. Do you want to kind of go over that and you know what we know about what happened?
Yeah. Yeah, we were able to ask Superintendent Evans about the wife earlier today. So yesterday morning, mid to late morning, the shelter-in-place order would have been in effect in Brooklyn Park.
No problem, buddy.
Up in Onamia, so Mille Lacs County, total other direction, straight north up towards Lake Mille Lacs.
Thank you.
Mille Lacs County, another county, probably
It's,
Brandon probably knows
it's
a
kind
lot,
of
but
slow.
Probably about an hour away from the
But,
metro in
you
that
know,
direction. There is a
I
traffic
had to
stop
check this thing out, and it was perfect timing.
I'm going to
so.
use the term detain. There were
Appreciate
no
you.
arrests, but they stopped a vehicle that had Vance
I'm gonna close this thing out soon
and several
anyways.
other family members.
This guy's just babbling.
We have confirmed that there were passports, there was cash in that car. Others have reported there was some weaponry in there. We know they held on to those folks, the wife, perhaps kids, but definitely loved ones, and questioned them, searched the vehicle. They felt the family was cooperative. So cooperative to the point that they ended up releasing them, that they were allowed to go on their way. And there were a lot of questions. I had them earlier today. Like, why not hold, you know, family, even if, you know, there's no direct connection, but as the superintendent said at that point, they cooperated, and in these times, people may act alone. I also think about that close friend at the Minneapolis, you know, rooming house where he rented a room. You know, they were reading text messages yesterday, sort of absolving them of any involvement. There was definitely, the authorities did confirm there was contact being made between him and other people close to him. They didn't necessarily feel they were being material aid, that they weren't necessarily helping him evade police or evade arrest. But yeah, that wife, I'd be curious to know more, and perhaps we'll learn more in the coming days. But in the end, there was a traffic stop conducted, and they just felt the family had cooperated enough to the point where they were allowed to continue on their own. Perhaps an indication, if we read it, for what it is, that this man acted alone, at least as in relation to his own family.
Yeah. Paul, Governor Walz was the first to speak tonight. His message was fairly clear that, and I'll just quote one thing that he said. Melissa was the core of who we are in Minnesota. He was referencing her ability to bring, politically speaking, two sides together to just even discuss what can be a very diametrically opposed political environment at the state legislature at times. And he said that we should commit ourselves.
All right, y'all. I'm going to close this thing out. This thing's getting a little on the dull side, but I just kind of wanted to put this up. Appreciate everybody stopping by, and we will see y'all on the next one. Good night, everyone.